mountains and 8 seas make one world. 1,000 worlds make one chiliocosm. One chiliocosm to the power of 3, and there's nothing I can't cut.
I'm going to be 100% with you guys. I really don't see much. And I'm past the point of disappointment. I'm past the point of wanting. I'm past the point, like long past this point, guys. This is just for the sake of the story, the sake of topic of discussion, right? What is Konohamaru's last saving grace? Now, when I say I'm past the point of disappointment, I literally do not care. And it's not in a bad way. I just genuinely, I can look at this man and just not care what happens to the character, honestly. Now, I can get hype or sad for moments regarding around the character. For instance, say perchance, executed well, Konohamaru does die within the next upcoming chapters. How it affects figures like Mitsuki, Big Uchiha Sarada, and Big Uzumaki Boruto, that way I definitely will be able to care and sympathize and empathize in that matter. But as far as towards the character directly, targeting Konohamaru Sarutobi specifically, I genuinely just don't care. So if he ends up turning evil, like the only way I can genuinely care for the character if they do something with him that's so drastic that ruins the story, which would be actually unorthodox and absolutely cannot happen. So for all intents and purposes, Konohamaru can have the majorest turn up ass pull within the next chapter and have the one up on not just Matsuri but Ryu as well. And I would probably still feel the same about the story. That's how much I genuinely reached past point of like caring anything for the character. Now I'm saying all of this just to give you guys a grand idea. This is coming from a guy, right? Before even the thought of Boruto was uttered in the community. I'm talking, I was in high school. This is the guy who not necessarily was up to date, you know what I'm saying, in tune with the Naruto franchise, but I understood, you know, the possibilities of sequels, the possibility of continuing the story. So I was one of those proud people to say, like, but by the time Naruto, you know what I'm saying, ends, the next show is going to be about Konohamaru. I hope y'all know that. I said that vividly and so confidently in my youth that I actually believed it to be the case. And when Naruto Gaiden first came out as a manga, when I first heard about Sarada as a character, I was confused because I saw somebody reading it. I'm like, bro, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Naruto's older now. I'm like, bro, this is before I genuinely decided to catch up through Naruto past the pain arc and past the war arc. But I'm like, that's crazy, you know? So the next show isn't about Konohamaru. This is coming from that guy. Like, I genuinely like the character. Konohamaru was the guy for me. It was like, it's gonna be, you know, Naruto show. Obviously, I was Sasuke fan, but I'm like, but next show, bro, is about to be about Konohamaru and the gang. You feel me? I genuinely believe that with my heart. So for me to reach from that point all the way to genuinely looking at the character and not caring, it says something. I really just don't care. Long story short, is Konohamaru cooked? Now, he has been cooked, if we're going to be honest, but I'm going to try to speak from a solely objective point of view. Is he cooked within the next couple chapters? Does he have something up his sleeves? What would it warrant for the story, depending on which direction they decide to go? Matsuri is really about to have one up on this man. Now, they can have it play out the way that a lot of people probably think it will play out and would be disappointed in the fact of Matsuri defeating or devouring Konohamaru, probably taking him out the story either permanently or semi-permanently, right? And then it would be falling on the members of Team 7 to have their comeuppance in regards to revenging or avenging Konohamaru. But then I would say it might fall too many avengeful plots. You feel me? They gotta avenge Sasuke. They gotta avenge Shinki. They gotta avenge Gaara. Right now, they gotta avenge all of these different people. They gotta avenge Moegi. So it's just gonna be falling into one, you know, post or the other. But still, we have to look past the surface level in terms of just simply getting avenged, right? How would the death itself actually impact characters like Sarada, characters like Boruto? How would it impact the relationship that Boruto possibly has with someone like Kashin Koji, right? Because we understand Kashin Koji has or is privy to knowledge in multiple or all possible futures. So for Boruto to actually live in a reality, live in a future where Konohamaru is dead or dies, understanding that there was a possibility possibility that he could have done something to prevent that, regardless of the future or the long-running outcome, Boruto will feel that guilt. There will be a rift in the relationship between him and Kashikoji, as we all have suspected in the upcoming and previous chapters. So regarding how his death would affect the outside characters, I think it would be much more impactful for the character itself of Konohamaru to fall in that line. So just looking at it from that standpoint, and then seeing how the village operates, seeing if possibility, right, Konohamaru is permanently removed from the story. They go down the lines, development occurs. Eventually, Moegi is revived and she learns the truth, right? How would that affect Moegi? How will it affect, honestly, Team 10? Because they made a vow along with Konohamaru to go ahead and rescue Moegi. And in the midst of said, promise and trying to accomplish that promise, Konohamaru dies in that act. There's a lot of ways that they can play with it, and a lot of ways that they can ultimately affect the story for good, but as a result will not be beneficial or great for the character directly. Being in Konohamaru, people are going to be like, well, he didn't really do anything. Honestly, there's those who really think he should be the next Hokage, and those who think like, well, what has he even done to be considered like one of the best jonin, aside from just, word of mouth and stuff that's occurred in the data books. So there's a lot of controversial when it comes to the character Konohamaru in general. So in terms of dying right now, especially in the moment where in terms of his accomplishments and accolades as a ninja is in the gray area amongst the fandom, and I can even say within the community itself, but we still have to take also into regard that there's still going to be endless or countless jonin within Konoha's ranks that still don't stand a chance to Konohamaru. So credit can be given where credit is due, but in the grand scheme of things, dying suddenly and dying now, aside from the impact that it will have on the outside characters, the other characters within the story, Konohamaru himself, I wouldn't even call it a legacy to say it was a legacy lived short. It's just like, it was a stunted what if type of career. It was like, well, what if he would have lived up to his potential? What if he would have did this, right? Because Konohamaru was brought up throughout the story as a Naruto copy, a Naruto 2.0 with his own little pizzazz to it. So that really brought the appeal of his characters to a lot of the fandom outside of the community, me being one of those factors. So going through the story and following all of the disappointment, especially occurring through his Boruto era character or alter or version of the character, it's really concerning, especially if we're talking about the end point of his journey and how he ultimately impacted the story moving forward. So there is a possible way to still make it work, at least for fans like me who don't particularly care for the character of Konohamaru that much, for killing him off and still continuing with the story and it being all intents and purposes done well and executed well. But still, for the sake of the character himself, allowing him to live and allowing him to go forward, or even saying killing him off now, it really wouldn't do much for him, right? But allowing him to live and move forward, they have to do better, and we can't continue to fall in the same limelight of Konohamaru and the discussions that revolve around his character, right? We saw him bring out a new, different variant of the Rasengan within this new thing. Now, aside from that showcase versus Hidari, hasn't really done much with it. He hasn't really done much in his repertoire that made us scratch our heads and think, well, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might actually got a thing or two up his sleeve. So there has to be some type of saving grace with Konohamaru in terms of the character still being alive, or in terms of even if the character died, aside from impacting the side characters or the other characters who have a connection to him. Now, the perfect example in this matter would be someone like Mujino. We see Mujino in the anime throughout the arc, throughout the Kara actualization arc, and we understand that his death is imminent, but actually once it's executed, there's a lot more Mujino fans in the anime because of how they decided to go about his death and how the impact of his death actually played out, right? So in the same regard with Konohamaru, if they have his death be impactful, despite him not having much accolades in the past, there's still one type of way to, basically save the character. So it's going to be good regardless of if his death is impactful and not for the character, because Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki are going to react to his death a certain type of way. But taking that out of the equation and taking that out of the picture, if he has an impactful death, like say, for instance, in the midst of him dying, not only does he hinders the mission in terms of the Shinju and getting their targets, he probably kills Matsuri or obtains her, sword thorn. So basically in the end, saving Moegi and sacrificing himself in order to get the job done. Possibly even whatever he does and however his death is impacted on the battlefield itself, simultaneously save Sarada, Team 7, and Team Shinki no Shinki in the middle of their battle with Ryu. Maybe we see how Ryu reacts and is kind of overprotective or over-respectful for his elders, and he sees that Matsuri is about to bite the dust, and he understands it's too late, and he is forced to retreat. But in the midst of this, whatever Konohamaru is actually doing to make all of these events occur would put his life on the line or put his life in danger, in the fact that it's understood he will no longer be with us. But still, for the sake of that, he managed to obtain the Sornthol Bulb. Now, these are the only saving graces I can see in terms of the character dying in the matter, because if you ask me, generally, I do believe he might just kick the bucket in the upcoming chapters if this is the way things are playing out. And if we're gonna say Konohamaru is alive, can he flex out of the current predicament he's in? I don't think so. I don't think his chakra is strong enough to simply flex. Is it possible that it's a shadow clone? The most simplest, right? The most simplest ideas, but then you have to understand my guy Ishiki lost to a shadow clone, so we can't rule it out. If it is a shadow clone, this can be something great. This can be something good for the character. I genuinely can look at it from an objective standpoint, like, well, shit, he fooled me. I'm pretty sure he fooled you too, right? And it's just a matter of what he does with that. Now, if it ends up just being a shadow clone and then the real Konohamaru is revealed and then he still gets put into a corner, right, and almost gets got by Matsuri, then I'm like, it's really no point, guys. It's really no point. But all intents and purposes, Konohamaru's saving grace, how do you see it playing out? Is he going to live throughout this? Is he going to make a name for himself and make a mark? Is this going to be the start of one of his great and many more accolades to come in terms of stamping his name as the future possible 8th Hokage or 9th Hokage? Or is he going to die a hero, right? Or is he going to die the man that we know him is to be today? Konohamaru, the disappointment on some regards, and Konohamaru, the guy with all this potential but never really able to follow through on it in some other regards, right? There's so many different ways they can go, especially if they kill off the character, making him a hero or just making him the guy that we all look at like, he could have done so much more. Well, at least he's out the way now. So how do y'all think it's going to play out? And what do y'all think the ultimate saving grace for the character would be? It's your boy, Black Uchiha. Holla at your boy. Let me know how y'all feel. Until my next video, I'm going to holla at y'all. Black Uchiha out. Yes, sir. Ski.